Okay, welcome back to the next episode of the Green Room Podcast. What is this? Seven.
This is episode 7.
7? Okay. I am your co-host, Massimo DeStefano. To my right, I Still not.
Never will be.
Wow. We are recording today in the lovely downtown Franklin, Tennessee at the Franklin Theater. Thank you to them.
Thank you for the paycheck I got yesterday.
Okay. I haven't gotten mine yet. What? Because you said, I think, what was it?
Big time players make big time plays.
Okay. Whatever.
All right, let's get it.
Yeah. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok.
I was already plugging. This is interesting.
This is new. This is new.
We are it's podcast, The Green Room, right?
Yes. On TikTok, it's podcast TGR.
Podcast name. That's so interesting.
Don't talk yet.
I know.
gotta intro you.
I'm like background
podcast, The
commentary.
Green Room.
Like a golf game.
Massimo DeStefano begins his day with no coffee yet again.
I was quite angry this morning.
Needed something this morning because baby was a little
TikTok. We are on TikTok. Podcast TGR. Okay. You know. Okay.
If you go on TikTok and look up the Green Room Podcast, it'll show up.
Yes.
A wonderful logo.
Yeah. Likewise on YouTube. We're just the Green Room Podcast. Okay. Well, today we've got our second guest ever. You should feel privileged. Do you feel privileged?
I would have felt more privileged if I was number 1, but
that's okay.
2's a new one from what I've been hearing.
Real?
No, but I'm still honored.
Oh, good. Well, there you go.
I don't like this passive aggressive energy you're bringing in here.
This is how
I was invited, and I feel attacked.
Well, we just got going. We're not even 5 minutes into the thing.
I have not attacked you once.
And that's why I keep looking at you with my loving eyes.
My goodness.
Little winks here and there.
To my left, who's already been talking this whole time, we have, are you co-host or the actual host of that podcast?
I'm a co-host.
Co-host of the, blanking on the name, you just told me. And I can't
remember. Hey, remember how I feel so honored?
I knew this would happen.
Brendan, you take it.
I knew this would happen.
I am privileged and honored to be here.
This is the director and writer of the amazing movie that'll be out like a month-ish from now as this release date. Colin Hodgin.
Yeah. Colin.
Are you going to clap
Good
extra
friend of
hard
ours.
because you forgot all my stuff?
No, we clap every time.
We'll chop it out.
We also work together at the theater.
We do.
Yes. I mean, I've known you what?
Years.
Like 8 years now.
Yeah, since high school.
Like that. Yeah. So we go way back. We're
2 years-ish, a little over 2 years. 2 years and a month.
Felt like 10.
It feels like more than you've probably known him. Sorry, I just had to. I had to, Massimo.
He had to. Come on,
anyway,
dude.
the podcast that you do.
Yes.
What is it called? I'm sorry, we forgot the name.
The Poor Man's Film Podcast.
That's what I knew. It was something like that.
I was thinking something about fish. I don't know why.
Oh yeah, you know me.
You know Colin.
Yeah. I'm out there in the river at 6 a.m. every Saturday morning.
Master fisherman.
Yeah, I got my cranberry
you
farm
fishing, but the
trousers
name
on.
had the. Never mind, forget it. Anyway,
yeah, Poor Man's Film Podcast is a podcast with my friend Tyler Scrofe, who is also your friend.
Yes.
Well,
his friend too.
Guess not. He's not my friend.
I did an open
span. I thought you just gestured.
No, I did an
me.
open span to both of you. That was the point. All right.
My
anyways,
gosh.
The whole point is we're two broke college kids, and we talk about filmmaking here in Nashville, and we have lots of guests on, and we have not had an episode since 2021. And it's funny because our last episode, we're like, okay, guys, we're gonna be on a normal schedule now.
Yeah.
That's what you said the last episode?
Yeah.
That's great.
Nice.
So, but here we are. You know,
Hey,
that's crazy.
I graduated. That's all that matters.
Yeah,
you just
were at
graduated.
Lipscomb,
You literally
right?
just graduated.
I was.
Lipscomb?
Yeah.
Okay, so what was your major there?
Finance, actually.
Was it really?
No, of course not. It was film
I was
production.
gonna say, there's no way that's right. There's no way that's what it is.
I did have a friend who
Yeah,
I was in the film department with almost all 4 years, and he graduated with a psychology degree or philosophy degree, and I thought that was so wild.
Wow.
Hey, it's a backup, I guess.
I guess so.
College is the time. How was it over there? Was it good?
At Lipscomb? It was
Yeah.
good. Can you cut my laughing out?
No, that's staying in.
Lipscomb, it was fun. It was tough because it's like I was one of the college kids who, almost half of my experience was through COVID. Mm-hmm. So like I wasn't fully there all the time. But even still, like I was a part of the College of Arts at Lipscomb, the CEA. And honestly, that was the best part of the college experience.
Really?
Yeah. Like it was a great art
Not
school.
the food?
I got food maybe like once or twice.
Food? What are
But
you
it was
talking
good. Yeah, it was
about?
all right.
No, some colleges have good food.
Yeah, some do. Mine has my school had an account that just posted all the mold they would find on the food.
Oh,
That's just amazing.
Yeah.
That's cute. But I wanted to first start by asking you about this movie that you directed and you're currently working on ish, The Neverwas.
Yeah.
You gave me the sneak peek and I saw the trailer. I don't know, is
I
it
haven't
out
seen
to the
it.
public?
Trailer's
out?
trailer's not out yet.
okay.
I saw it.
What?
You didn't.
Okay, I'm
But
watching
I mean,
it.
by the time this comes out mid-June, it'll most definitely be out. Yeah.
It'll most definitely be out by now. We'll put a link to it in the bio. But I wanted to ask you firstly about it, how it started, like how long ago
Yeah.
the idea, for like the very first droplet of it came. Like when did that first happen?
Sure.
Droplet.
It's
Sorry.
raining
You're
outside.
so mean
Sorry.
to him.
No, I'm just-
What is this dynamic?
No.
You
It's
should have
just.
seen him the other day when we were building a desk.
Oh my gosh.
It's like charming abuse.
I don't want to talk about the desk. This is a music
Anyway,
podcast, not a desk. Whatever.
Sorry,
Colin,
the Neverwas.
Tell us about yourself.
Are you
Colin.
okay, Brendan? Does he beat you?
He just
Hey, blink
doesn't
twice.
trust me.
He does- oh my God, this is getting too real.
No, I'm just kidding. It's a joke. The Neverwas. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Hey.
get to it, yeah.
Okay. So, it's been an idea I've had for a long time. I think I thought it up maybe like 4 years ago, and I remember I pitched it when I was a freshman in high school college, to one of my like head department people at Lipscomb, and I said, "This is an idea I have for a film," and they said, "Oh, you should use that for your senior capstone." And 4 years later, I did. And I spent almost like an entire year and a half just working on the script, and just kind of writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. And
this is during COVID when you were writing the script?
it was right after COVID when I
Okay.
first started working on the script and just like outlining the story and everything. And what happened was actually, I'm gonna get really real about the whole. It's been a kind of crazy journey. It's been a very realistic journey.
Yeah.
Go in.
But I wrote what I thought was the final draft of the script, and I finished it like last October. And there were some minor things I wanted to fix, but I went to the CEA, specifically Imagine House at Lipscomb, and I said, "Hey, you guys fundraise projects every so often. I want to pitch this to you." And I went around and I pitched it to a bunch of different executives at Lipscomb, and everyone loved the idea because my whole thing was like, I went in and I just said the truth. I was like, "Hey, listen, the CEA, it's animation, fashion, graphic design, film, it's all this stuff. I'm like, you guys constantly talk about collaboration. Like you that's your pride and joy." And I was like, I don't see it. I have never seen a project that is that collaboration.
Yeah.
And I said, I want this film to be the first film that is every aspect of the CEA.
Yeah.
And they love that.
Tell them what's up.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what happened was I met with the dean of the school. I pitched the film. He loved it. He said, we'll send over a script and a one pager and all this stuff, a mood board. And I did. And I did not hear back from him for about a month. And one day I just emailed him and I said, "Hey there, is there any update? Like, do we want to have a meeting and just talk this out?" And suddenly I get a text from another department head. And I won't name these people or anything like that, but
No.
they just said, they're like, "Hey, can we meet sometime soon?" And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I met with this department head who I've known all throughout my college experience. And they sat me down with another person and they just went like, they just jumped right straight into it and they just said, "Oh, we're going to be so real with you. This is horrible." And I was like,
kidding.
I was like,
Man.
"What?" And we'd already shot a weekend of footage. I'd spent $2,000 of my own money to make it all happen.
Ooh.
And he goes, "Yeah," he's like, the company, the Imagine House will not give you any money whatsoever unless you scrap everything and start with this idea that we're pitching to you. And I was,
That is-
I don't think I've told you this,
Oh,
but
no.
it was
crazy.
really rough, but they kind of launched into this and they pitched it all to me. And I just was like, I'm confused of why I'm hearing this now. You know,
After the shooting has started. Yeah.
yeah, it's also like we've had weeks to talk about this. Why is this happening so late? And I basically was just like, I was really confused, and it ended up boiling down to the professor saying like, I don't want to say it verbatim. Here's what I'll do. I'll say what he actually said, and then I'll say something a little nicer.
Okay.
He said, "This is a textbook example of what failure looks like."
What?
Yeah.
Oh.
But you know, in a nicer way of saying that, he said, "This is what you should never do when writing." And that was the toughest meeting I've ever had to go through in my life. It was a very real meeting. And it was about an hour of just going through the script and saying everything that's wrong with it. And it was something that I'd worked, hours and hours and hours and hours on. I was already so mentally strained. And I think this was like early November when this happened or so. So I stood there in that meeting. I took it all and I listened. And then at the end of it, I said, okay, I hear your notes. I was like, I tell you what, I don't want to change the story. I do want to rewrite it. But the story is, I should talk about the movie and what it is.
Oh, yeah.
Neverwas. That's very important, because there's another movie called Neverwas that I could get sued.
Oh, so there's
The Neverwas.
Yeah,
there's
The
Neverwas, and yours is the Neverwas.
If I get threatened to be sued, the movie will become all that Neverwas.
The or the?
The.
The Neverwas.
The Neverwas.
Anyway, continue.
Big difference.
The movie is about a fantasy novelist, like a writer, who just one day goes crazy on like a Jimmy Kimmel kind of talk show like thing, and he spouts nonsense saying that all of his books that he wrote are true and they're based on his life. So it'd be like if C.S. Lewis went up on stage and he was like, Narnia is real and Narnia was about me, going crazy. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But,
I am Narnia.
Yeah, I am the lion. So he goes crazy, and through that experience, the world kind of just like looks at him like an idiot, like some just whack job. And his sister is a reporter, and she is, an absent sister. They don't really talk or whatsoever. She is kind of blackmailed and hired to go get his story out of him and figure out why he went crazy. And that is the whole movie, kind of talking about their life as kids. And it's like, well, okay, where does the fantasy stop, and is it real or not? And at its heart, it's all about kind of like, learning to go back and accept your faults for what they are and owning up to your mistakes. And it's like very heavy in nostalgia, and like we have a beautiful team working on it. We talked about this before we started recording, but Mackay Kerr is doing the score, and I'm extremely excited about that. We've been working hard.
We'll have him on here at some point.
At
some point,
probably. Please. But no, he's honestly a much better person. That you should have had him on sooner before me. Much better talent.
Well, if anything, we'll have like some of your crew on. We'll just
I would love to maybe eventually have like you, Bryn, who I know was also part of that, who I worked with at one point, and have Mackay, and have all three of you maybe on the couch.
I would love that. Another Neverwas one?
Another Neverwas. And we can talk Neverwas, just movies in general with the whole group. And
a little watch party or something.
Not for nothing. If we can get permission from the theater, we can do it on the stage.
That'd be sick.
Little sneak peek for y'all out there.
Do you guys want to host our Q&A for the movie premiere?
Heck yeah.
Yeah, when is it?
July 28th. I mean, we're going to talk about that later in the podcast.
Yeah.
No, let's just make plans like on...
Yeah, I'll put it in my planner right now.
Where's my phone?
But so that's the main gist of the story.
Yeah.
And I was with these two executives, and I said, because they wanted full fantasy. And I said, I'm sorry, that's not the story I'm trying to tell.
Yeah.
I want to do a drama. I want to do something that is, the whole pitch I had for this movie was, we all know the stories of what happens to the kids when they leave Narnia or like Harry Potter world or whatever. And the theme park, not the actual story. No, but no, but it's like, we know what happens to these kids when they're in those worlds. It's like, I care more about, I want to know like what happens to them afterwards, like how they kind of handle coming down from that high, kind of like the movie Hook, where it's like, how does, I know that's a good thing for you right there.
Yeah. Love that movie so much.
Yep.
Why am I not surprised?
Because when I was a kid, I was Peter Pan for like 3 years in a row for Halloween, and then like 2 years after that, I was Hook, because any year that I was Peter Pan, my dad was Hook, and vice versa.
But you don't like Robin Williams. What's that all about?
You don't like Robin Williams?
It's not that I don't like Robin Williams. I just think that he may be a little overrated, and that some performances of his aren't as stellar as people claim them to be. And that's my own personal opinion.
That's any actor.
I agree. I just think that he's was put on a pedestal, so to speak.
Yeah, because he's Robin frickin' Williams.
I think he's one of the best performers ever, just for what he can do. But that's a different conversation.
I think he's definitely top 25, but he's not.
We should go through the top 24 then.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. I think Mrs. Doubtfire is kind of crazy. Bro.
Okay.
That movie is.
Anyway, no. I want to go back to something that you said.
Anyway, sorry.
I want to go back to something you said. So I know in writing anything creative, like when you're writing the script, to me that equates to, when we're talking music, it kind of equates to like how a songwriter will craft a song.
Yeah.
And I know just through people I know that are songwriters, and also just through like bands I listen to and artists and like people that write music or write something.
Yeah.
It's like they don't write something unless they have something to say.
Right.
So when it came to the whole this dean stuff and all that stuff that happened, all those meetings, it seems like, I mean, you can be getting into more into this, but it seems like no, sticking to what this is like. I wrote this because this is what I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing as what a songwriter does. Like, there's guys that get paid to do like commercial stuff.
Yeah.
And then it just like write little jingles and it's like whatever. But like you wrote something and you want to like see it through,
Right.
which I think is very admirable, which is what songwriters try to do. It's like I'm speaking from my own experience or something that is placed on me, and I'm like, I'm going to write this what I want to say. And when they don't have something to say, they don't write, and they don't have anything to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of thing. Is that something like what was going through your head?
No, I think that's true. I think anytime, so one thing they teach you when you're writing features or movies or whatever is like, you have to go in and you have to know why you're writing the movie.
Yeah.
Like same with what you're just saying for songwriting. Like there has to be a purpose. Or if you're directing a movie or something, it's like if you're going to pitch to executives, the one question they'll be asked is like, why is it you? Like, why do you have to tell the story? Why can it only be you in the world who has to tell this specific story? Like Spielberg could tell this, but it's like, why does it have to be you?
We love explosions.
What?
Isn't that the guy that
Spielberg? No, Michael Bay.
Oh, that's one.
Oh man,
Tomato. Really? That's shows you how much I know.
Oh, all right, well.
Yeah, Michael Bay, producer of the Goonies.
Yeah. John Mayer and Weird Al, basically the same thing.
Yeah,
right?
same person.
I see no difference.
No, of course not. But yeah, I think I wanted to tell this story because I wanted it to be more heartfelt in the realism. And it's all about kind of like leaving your childhood behind, right? And learning to find the balance between, okay, how can I be an adult versus where do I learn, do I have to sacrifice that purity I once had, like the childhood innocence. It's
good stuff. Why are you laughing?
No. Love that.
Gosh. Okay. Well, speaking of childhood,
I don't know where he's going with this. Let's find out.
Very concerned.
it's a good segue. I just want to ask how you got into film.
Oh, cool.
And like when you were young, I assume something happened in your childhood. See, I was pulling from that. Whatever. I don't know. Tell us how you got into film.
Yeah.
How you got into video and all the stuff. Why are you laughing?
The way that you are cracks me up sometimes.
It's just the way I segue.
I know. I'm sorry.
I had friends in high school who there was one guy.
Oh dear.
Ian Matthews.
Yeah.
We'd all just pick on him every so often. When there was one day where Sean Meehan, an old friend of ours, we were just sitting together and Sean just starts laughing, and we're like, "What's so funny?" He goes, "I'm sorry, Ian. Sometimes you just look so funny." And I feel like that's just this. I'm just like, sometimes you have friends that just do stuff, and you're like, "Man, that guy's hilarious, just living."
Yeah. Sometimes just the way that you act is just funny.
I see
Up here, it's an enigma. Let me tell you.
I'm sure.
He said that like a drunkard. I'm here, son. I'll tell you what. You couldn't even
I haven't
understand
really
me
had
if you
too much
wanted
coffee
to try.
today, so.
But no, okay, childhood.
Anyway,
I actually was talking about this with Luke Shingleton the other day. I'm name dropping people no one's
I was
going to
gonna say,
understand.
I've never heard his last name.
It's okay.
Really?
Out of my life, I feel like.
Shingleton?
Yeah, Shingleton.
Like the roof shingles. Okay.
Yeah, or the disease.
Oh.
He's got a ton of the disease, Shingleton. That's as funny as I'm gonna get on this podcast.
That is awesome.
It's not, but it's okay.
It's almost as awesome as. Never mind. I was gonna say his wet shirts.
That's true. Don't have that man that early.
That's what?
We'll have him on.
He may or may not wet his shirts to wake himself up.
I low-key respect it.
Who?
Never mind.
I'm so confused.
The audience can do
It's
the math.
perfect.
I asked about
Anyway.
your childhood.
Childhood. I was talking about it with Luke, and I said, because it's like sometimes you hear people and they're like, "Oh, I was just a normal kid until one day I went into the movie theater and I saw Star Wars for the first time."
Yeah,
and
it's like their trajectory.
That's
My
what,
whole life
that's what
was
happened to me.
changed.
So
Is it, yeah, you saw Star Wars and you're like, "I'm gonna be a drummer." Yeah,
it's pretty much what happened.
that's pretty cool, man. I like
The
that.
lightsabers are just big drumsticks.
The Cantina
true.
band he was like, that's what I want.
Hey, okay. Do you know what that music's called?
No.
This isn't a cuss word, but it's
Here
it's
we go.
actually so in Lucas's canon, it's called jizz. Space jazz is called jizz.
Are you kidding?
I'm not.
That is awesome.
All right. Anyways, I just wanted to
Thank you for letting us know
That's
that.
awesome.
Anytime. Okay. But I told Luke, we kind of talked about it and we both agreed like, oh, we didn't have that experience. Like we never saw a movie as a kid and we're like, oh, I want to do film now. I feel like that's kind of unrealistic for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that equates to you in music. What I've learned is much more common, and I think also more special, just more heartfelt, is you'll go through life thinking you have things figured out. Like forever, I mean, my entire childhood, you know this, we went to school together. I was an art kid.
Yep.
I was painting and drawing and sketching and doing all of that. And I thought that was my life. Like I fully thought animation was my future.
Yeah.
I wanted to create cartoon shows and I wanted to impact like future generations the same way I'd been, impacted, inspired.
Isn't it like cartoons like Tom Jerry, like that stuff
No.
stuck with you?
Yeah.
No, I'm being
like more like Avatar, Last Airbender.
Oh, okay.
Or like
Okay,
shows
okay.
where it's like, epic plots involved in a cartoon show to show like you can tell big stories and stuff. I'm gonna burp. Excuse me. You can edit that out.
I'm
right?
gonna
Perfect.
put so much
And-
reverb on that.
The whole screen shakes.
Yeah.
I know, but so I was on that path and I left Centennial, our high school.
Mm-hmm.
I graduated thinking I was going to be an animator. And that summer, I went to a couple different portfolio places to kind of show off my work. And there was one day I actually forgot my portfolio at school. And I went into this art. I was like, I'm still going to go and just show off what I can. And I went there and I showed it off to a couple different schools, like Riz did, which is a really big art school up in Rhode Island. And forever, I swear I was going to go to SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design down in Georgia. And I love that school. I toured it. I loved it so much. But I went to this kind of portfolio showcase and I showed off my stuff. And like people were like, it's good. It's not enough. And I kind of had a lot of people just say like, you can never make this work. You can't get in. And at the time that was like devastating to me. Like I literally, my dad took me out there and I was so completely just heartbroken because I thought that was my life. And it wasn't even like entitled. It was like, I wanted, like, I'm someone who, no matter what I'm doing, I want to put in maximum effort, maximum work.
110%.
Yeah, seriously. Like I fully believe like you have to put your heart into everything you do.
I think it's the only way to get the product you truly want.
Yeah.
Is to put in the work you actually
Seriously.
want.
And no matter what job you're doing, you have to treat it like it's the most important job in the
100%.
world. So I went through all that and I just kind of was faced with a lot of like negative realism from people who probably, could have been a bit nicer, but at the same time, it was just like, I was heartbroken. I really was. And my dad took me to ML Rose, a burger place up in Nashville, which if you've never gone, you should.
Great
It's
spot.
Good. It's good.
I haven't been there.
Well, you should. It's good.
Okay, well, let's go.
I'm fine. Let's do it.
Okay.
Right now, let's go. Let's
You're
leave.
driving.
Yeah. Okay, fine. But
And buying.
please.
I have
Okay.
I have a poker chip at home that can get me a free beer.
Really? That's cool.
Poker chip?
They have things where it's like if when you go on certain nights and you get a drink, they'll give you a poker chip and you can either claim it right then and get a free beer or come back another time and use it.
Cash in.
Yeah.
Full house.
Can I just buy some poker chips and like...
No, that's
No,
called.
because it's ML Rose poker chips.
That's
and
forgery.
they only do like certain colors on certain nights. So like,
Oh, cool.
yeah.
Anyways, it's a great
Anyway,
spot.
yeah.
But
It's an awesome
my
spot.
dad sat me down and he bought me lunch, and I was the kind of sad where it's like you just don't want to talk. You know, you're just dead silent and you're trapped in your own thoughts. And my dad kind of, he gave me some of the most like life-changing advice I've ever received. Which my dad's a wise guy. Like my dad.
I do.
My
Get the
dad's
same
done,
hair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost pretty similar, but my dad's done almost like everything under the sun. He's traveled across the world, and I've learned a lot from him. But in this moment, he kind of just spoken to me. He goes, "Listen, in this type of world, there's really like two types of people. There's the guys who go in every day, 9 to 5, and they work behind a desk, for someone else's project. And he goes, and then there's the other guys who are out there in the world doing something different every day." And he goes, I don't see you as the type of guy to spend your whole life behind a desk.
Yeah.
And I thought about it and I thought about everything he was saying. And I was like, it's true. It's like if I'd really gone through animation, even though I'm working on projects I'm loving, I would be behind a desk every day for my entire life, just trapped in an office. And the thought of that terrified me. So I kind of like had this moment where, kind of trailing all back to your original question about just childhood and stuff.
Yeah.
Excuse me. This was my biggest concern. I was like, I'm gonna get all burpy.
That's all right.
I kind of thought back about my whole life, and I was like, okay, if animation's not for me, then what is? And I knew I liked filmmaking, and I was like, but I don't know if I want that to be my focus. It's like I love, I thought animation could be my filmmaking, right? And I thought back about every single thing I'd ever done, and as I was doing that, I realized I was like, oh wait, I don't care about the art as much. I love animation. Like Neverwas is like half animation. It's combining live action and animation. It's beautiful. And I see the beauty in animation, but I realized I was not an animator. I was a writer. I cared more about telling the story, building a world, that kind of thing, creating emotional impact, right? And I realized from that point on, I'm like, oh, I've always been directing. Like I was the type of kid to grab all my siblings and we'd make music videos or movies, and I would tell them what to do and go from that on. And I'm like, I don't talk about myself much like this because I think sometimes you can go a little egotistical with it. Oh, yeah. And I don't like going that way. But I do think I like to be a leader. I like to be able to take care of people and to kind of gather everyone together and be able to work towards a common goal. So once I kind of realized all that, I was like, okay, well, I think filmmaking does make more sense. And I went through all this kind of catharsis and epiphany, and I just sat down one day and I was like, okay, well, just, God just show me where I'm supposed to go. And I was set to go to SCAD. Like I was fully set to go there in the fall. Mm-hmm. And I kind of just was shown like, that's not the thing.
It's not the thing.
So I canceled SCAD and I went with my backup school, which was Lipscomb, which I was not happy about. I hated Lipscomb. Like I hated the thought of going to Lipscomb.
Oh yeah.
Because we graduated at Lipscomb, and I didn't want to for high school. I didn't want to graduate on the same stage. And there was all this other stuff. I was like, I wanted to get out and live my life. I wanted to go have my own college experience. I didn't want to live at home, and the dorms are not great at Lipscomb.
No. So I wanted to get into a little bit about.
Why are you laughing?
I don't know. Maybe some of our favorite films and scores from films. And I feel like Brendan wants to go first.
There is definitely one I'd like to speak about. We spoke a few episodes ago about how my favorite movie is The Goonies, and I won't get too much into it.
I didn't know that.
See, I thought about doing that same reaction, but I didn't because I'm a good friend.
Man, I can't wait till we talk about Journey. Anyway.
There's no movies about... Oh, they have a documentary, but anyway.
See. Anyway, the greatest soundtrack of all time is made by the greatest...
His mic fell down for those of you that couldn't see.
The greatest score of all time is Interstellar. And I don't care what anybody says. Interstellar, the score for that is... it makes the movie for me. The movie would still be amazing if it had a different score. But I think for me personally as a non-movie person... There's no movie I've seen where the score plays such a role in the movie as much as Interstellar. How do you feel about what I just said as a movie person?
Okay. Personally, I don't know if I agree, but I think you have a lot of weight to your argument.
Thank you.
I think that score is massively important to just all films as a whole. Like that really just kind of changed a lot of stuff. It's also a very intelligent score with everything it does. Do you know the story about how it all came to be?
I think I know little bits and pieces, but tell it.
The quickest one I'll say is, so Hans Zimmer, they worked together, him and Nolan, a couple times.
Hans.
And one day, Hans, I think he rented out a church or something. From what Mackay told me the story years and years and years ago.
It's.
Is it a famous church?
I know that it's Temple Church in London.
Mm.
I knew it. I just had to think of it. Anyway, keep going.
But yes, so one day, Nolan had not heard any of the music, to my knowledge, and Hans invited him in. He's like, "Hey, I think I have something if you want to come hear it." And Nolan came in, and he just started playing, or like Hans started playing it, and Nolan did not say anything whatsoever. And Hans finished, and Nolan just looked at me. He goes, "Yep, that's it," and then walked out. And honestly, the more I'm thinking about it, that might honestly be Inception. But it's the same kind of vibe to where it's just like, I think Nolan just kind of trusts Hans to create killer stuff.
I would,
and
100%.
that organ goes crazy in that score.
That organ goes crazy.
That's what makes it. right?
Well, that's exactly. Well, and you don't realize because there's a video on YouTube of Hans explaining why he chose the organ, but it is a perfect choice for because when you think space and like sounds and cinematics for space, at least I always think about it either being super spacey and like super like
like sci-fi,
like synth sci-fi stuff,
Star
or
Trek.
just being like pads, like you know, almost like you know how at worship they have pads.
Yeah.
Just like Arrival, I think is a lot like that. It's cool, but it's just pads mostly. And Hans it's just a genius the way that like I don't know, it's just genius.
No, it's
Genius. And not for nothing for all the engineers, the mix of it, I think it's one of the first that was actually fully mixed in Adobe Atmos.
Oh yeah, I did
that you can hear the Atmos in stereo systems. Like
Have you heard
it's
about that? The Atmos
oh my
stuff?
gosh,
Okay, cool.
it's amazing.
Well, they're gonna get one at Dark Horse.
I hope they never make an Inception 2.
No, they won't.
Or not Inception, excuse me, Interstellar 2. Because I would be so upset because I know that Hans couldn't up that score.
What he did.
But man, that is such a good movie.
Yeah, Nolan's pretty much just kind of a one and done. The only sequels he did was for the Batman movies, I think.
Yeah. Batman Begins is so slept on, by the way.
Okay, I've got one. This is more the soundtrack for the movie.
Okay.
I mean, there's stuff scored, whatever. I recently rewatched La La Land.
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
I was going to bring this one up too.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
Hey, wow.
Yeah.
I brought up what he was going to bring up.
Super good.
I just watched it again, and after it's been a few years, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's too good.
No, but the other one that's kind of similar to that is Whiplash. I think that's cool.
Yeah,
obviously
yeah.
Same creator.
Yeah, based around the jazz. But man, it's great. That's great.
What do you think about La La Land as a whole?
I think it's I think it's one of the best movies in the past decade.
Yeah.
Like seriously, I think it's beautiful. Man, I just love all of Damien Chazelle's movies. Like Whiplash is the only one I haven't seen, and his new one Babylon.
Seen
I need to.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, La La Land and First Man.
drummer,
The
I
last
had to
30
see
minutes
it.
is
I'm
awesome.
sure.
The last 30 minutes.
it's a
I know
pretty great
almost
ending.
I know the last shot. I know the music and everything like that. So I know a lot about it. I just haven't actually. I love the opening of just a dum, 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 and the fade in. Oh, that's cool. That's cool, man. But La La Land's really really good with its ability to blend the soundtrack and the score together, and the score is really intelligent because it perfectly tells their love story. Which, I mean, God, I'm gonna hold on.
Oh, no,
I'm gonna speak on
no.
La La Land for a second, just because I think it's one of the best movies in the past 10 years, or maybe just possibly ever, because it's not a traditional love story, but it is the most real love story out there. Because the whole point of it, Damien Chazelle said that when he wrote the movie, he did not want to write a movie about finding your soulmate, but it's more so the whole movie is about how people can come into your life at the right time. Even if it's or the wrong time, but it's the right person. People can come into your life and they can make you a better person, but that does not mean that they're there forever. So it's just like people come in and they'll make you who you're always meant to be, and then they'll leave. And I think that's beautiful. Yeah,
Bars.
Snaps again.
but no, the score builds that, right? Because you think about their theme, Mia and Sebastian. And it's like when it starts off, it's so romantic and it swings and it's beautiful. And then towards the end, it's soft and sad, but it's true.
Well, the flashback or to see what the way things could have been.
Yeah.
At the end. Like,
And that's when it swings up again because it's like
crazy.
this is what we were, this is what we could have been, and then it goes back to the reality, right? And I love that ending. People
so
hate
good.
that ending. I love that ending.
I don't know why people don't like it. It's so good.
I think it's one of the best.
I think
movie
they don't like
endings
it because
in
it's
general.
not.
It's not satisfying because people go in and they want that alternate ending. They want the false reality where it's like they get together, they live happily ever after, and it's like that's not how life works.
I mean, it looks like they're both happy.
Yeah,
but they're not together.
No, but they probably are happy.
Oh no, yeah.
Right?
Well, he's got his place and she's got her.
But the only reason he has that place is because she inspired him to reach for it, and the only reason that she's an actress is because he drove out to her home to bring her back and say, "You can do this. You're meant to do this." Like they would not be where they are without each other. And yet they're separate. They still love each other, but it's not going to work, And that's awesome.
Bars.
Too good.
Bars.
What's your favorite score of all time? Not favorite movie, obviously.
Favorite score
score of all time.
I thought long and hard about this because you told me to prepare for this. And I literally...
The one thing I wanted you to have in your brain is your favorite scores / your favorite...
Did you think about it?
I did. Well,
while you're at the dentist, because you came from the dentist right before this, were you like on the table,
while
like,
you had metal picks in your mouth, you're like,
no, but literally
good.
all of last night, all this morning, even when I walked in today, I had headphones in. I was just listening to a bunch of scores and being like, what do I like here? And I boiled it down to one.
Oh.
I think my favorite score of all time, like the movie I can...
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Man, I can't even get to say it yet. No. The movie that I could like watch, and I love watching it, but the music is like what really brings me in, kind of with you and Interstellar, is Howl's Moving Castle.
I've never even heard of it.
I don't even know that.
Yeah, no. It's a Ghibli movie, a Studio Ghibli movie. So it's like a Japanese animated movie, right? Okay. And they're beautiful movies if you've never seen them. Like we watch them every so often here at the theater, so one night we'll have to show you it. But it's a love story about a wizard and this girl and how they kind of meet together and all this stuff. But the score is
amazing,
enchanting.
What kind of is it? Is it more in the John Williams sense where it's in just an orchestra, or is it more Hans Zimmer where it's weird sounds and stuff like that?
It's a little bit of both. It's primarily orchestra. The composer's name is Joe Hisaishi. I believe that's how you pronounce it.
Okay.
And he is legendary. Like he is literally, if I could ever work with any composer, he'd be on the top of my list.
You heard it here, folks.
Other than me.
Sign him up.
Other than you and Makai and all my other friends.
Yeah.
That score, that is a movie. The whole story behind it is I never watched Ghibli stuff until I was like in my late teens, and I got it as a Christmas present for my brothers, and they were like, "We don't want this trash. We hate this." And I was like, "Okay." And I was like, "Well, I bought it. I'm going to watch it." Mm-hmm. And I watched it, and there's a specific moment. If you can play 6 seconds. Oh, are we getting feedback from something?
Just keep going.
I got you. But if you can play like 6 seconds of it over the clip, you should. And you should play this specific moment from the song, A Walk in the Skies. It is kind of like the inciting incident in the love story and everything like that. But basically to describe the scene for you. This girl, her name's Sophie. She thinks she is worthless and unlovable and all this stuff, right? Aww. And she's getting harassed by some soldiers. And suddenly this guy appears and he's all mysterious. He puts his hand on her shoulder. He's like, "There you are, sweetheart. I've been looking everywhere for you." Which, played by Christian Bale. Very, very good cast.
Batman.
Oh, yeah. Batman. Batman.
Batman.
It's just, he's like real charming, real enchanting.
He's the wizard?
Yeah, he's the wizard. Okay. His name's Hal. And they're walking down this alleyway and suddenly these monsters, these like blobby, inky monsters start appearing and the music gets all creepy. And then they're like, "Oh, here we go." And they take a jump off the ground. And then the music goes from creepy and it builds, it goes doon, 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 and it goes swaying. And I'm telling you, if you can play 6 seconds of music, do it right here, because it's this most breathtaking scene of the two of them walking hand in hand, just kind of walking in the sky, like floating. And it's beautifully animated. It looks like kind of just straight out of a fairy tale. I remember I fell in love with that score. And I watched the movie right before I went to New York for the first time. And on the plane to New York, I just was listening to that specific song, Walk in the Sky, over and over and over again, because it literally like, it gave me chills and it hit me like no other song had ever hit me before. And to this day, if I pulled out my phone and showed you, it is my number one listened song of all time. Wow. And that whole score is just, I love it. I love it so much.
That's awesome. We'll have to watch that then.
You should. I think it's great. I think it's a movie that
is people it on any streaming platform?
HBO Max. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's it?
Yeah. Well, it's because Ghibli is very restrictive with where they put their movies out. And for the first time ever, HBO Max,
really?
which is now just called Max because that's stupid. But
wait, what?
It's called Max.
It's not called HBO?
Because HBO or Warner Brothers bought Discovery, or they merged.
Oh, Discovery Channel?
Yeah, or like the company Discovery, which does Discovery Channel. Right. So HBO Max is becoming Max, and it just has more Discovery options on it. And it's more expensive now.
Kind
or
of
something.
dumb.
It is dumb.
Because I don't know it. I know it as HBO, not Max.
Yeah.
What?
Anyways, you can watch it on Max, along with all the other Ghibli movies. You can watch it on HBO Max.
No, just HBO.
You can watch it on HBO.
That's not right at all. I apologize, by the way, if you can hear any subs or music. Apparently there's a party downstairs.
I know. I was like, is there anything?
I don't know what is going on
right
now.
I don't know. It's weird.
Anyway.
Someone's just jamming. That's fine. Yeah. Do what they want.
I wanted to know, from your perspective as a kind of director, movie guy, what's the most important aspect to a score like supporting a movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm really happy you asked that because I wanted to get nerdy with it for a second.
Let's do it.
No, get nerdy.
Okay, so
Go nuts. Go crazy.
one of the first lessons they teach you in audio class, if you go to like an art college, which you don't have to.
We've been through that. Yeah.
Okay, a film
That was the most
in the film aspect.
pretentious thing I've ever seen in my life.
I know.
But,
Sorry. Keep going.
No, so I think audio is literally one of the most important classes you could ever take for doing any sort of visual media or just anything like this. So it's like you go in, and day one, my professor was the amazing Matt Huseman. He kind of starts the class by asking a question. He says, "What's more important? Is it picture or sound?" And you have all these kids, these art kids, who are like, "Well, it's obviously sound because or picture, because we study cinematography and we do lighting and we do all these specific things to help have a visual image for the story." Or you think about painting, right? Like painting, tells a story.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, "No, you're all wrong. Sound is the most important aspect of a film." And
I like to hear that.
yeah, and it's something I'd never thought about up until that point, but he starts talking about it. He says, image conveys information, sound conveys emotion. So
That's true too.
there's this really fun thing they'll do when people will take all these clips, and they'll take the same clip and they'll just re-edit it, and they'll put different music under each edit, so it's the exact same clip. And it's a cool experiment because every time they put new music under it, it's a completely different story. Like there's one clip for, I think some famous guy did it. It might have been Hitchcock or someone else, but took a clip of a guy looking at a girl and then looking at food. And he put it under like a romantic sounding track, a horror sounding track, and something that was like maybe more happy. Mm-hmm. And with the romantic, it's like, oh, he's lusting after the girl, and he's trying to use the food to kind of like win her heart. And for the scary one, it's like, oh, this guy's going to kill this girl. Maybe the food's poisoned. And the third one is like, oh, it's a comedy, and maybe he hates this girl and he's going to throw the food in her face or something like that. So it's like sound will always convey, like, even because, okay, you asked me about Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, and earlier, I won't. Yeah. I just saw the third one.
You have?
I did. Yeah, I just did.
No spoilers.
No spoilers.
No.
I won't talk about it. I won't even state my opinion on it. But
you said it to me earlier.
I did.
I didn't hear it.
Wasn't my favorite. There it is. I said it. But it's tough because a lot of people like that movie. I love the Guardians movies.
There's a lot of stuff on the internet about it.
You like the other ones though?
I do. The first one is one of my favorite movies, just in general.
I mean, that first movie when it came out,
I love it. I love it.
Such the underdog, but it was. And then the soundtracks have been great. Oh, the sound. Okay, is the soundtrack at least?
Awesome.
Oh yeah.
On the third one, is at least the soundtrack like on par?
No.
Oh.
I'm gonna.
Okay,
no.
I'm not gonna get into it.
All right. Anyways,
I haven't seen
it.
But
something I'm going to say with the movie is I was disappointed in one aspect because I was listening to the sound while something was happening on the screen, and they're building, kind of trying to create this expectation of like, oh, this thing's about to happen, and I was listening to the music and I was like, no, it's like I don't believe anything they're doing right now, and sure enough, something happened and it was like a fake out or something. But it's like I talked about it on the way home with my friends where I was like, I knew what they were building up was not going to happen because they went big with it. It's like for something like that, you want to go small or something like that. And I thought about James Gunn as a writer and director and a creator. And I was like, he would have gone small. So I was like, I knew it was a mask and it was fake because you go in and you can tell like when a moment requires a certain sound, right? So it's like Hans Zimmer is so intelligent because he knows how to just like take a moment and let it breathe, but also when to actually kind of play it out and enhance it. And that's one thing too, where it's like you should never have a movie that is just music all the way through. That, like even musicals most of the time have moments where you breathe. And I on Neverwas, music is only playing maybe like 30% of the movie because a lot of it is just kind of like arguing or talking between characters. And I had a friend ask me, he goes, "Are you going to have music over that?" And I said, "No, because the moment just has to breathe. Like they're talking. It's still sound.
Yeah.
That should be all that drives the emotion of the scene." But like with House, I just talked about it. Like when that big swinging orchestra comes in and it's that first big kind of sway, like it captures your heart. Yeah. And you feel it and you're enchanted and you're thrown full head force into that world. And I think it's fantastic. And we're watching a movie later tonight, Baby Driver, which you've never seen before.
I've never seen it.
I was going to, so you talk about La La Land. Yeah. I think Baby Driver, first off, Edgar Wright. Edgar Wright is a genius. Mm-hmm. I love that man to death. But Baby Driver, I think you're going to absolutely adore it.
Really?
I do. I really do. I think it's going to become one of your...
John Bernthal's in that, right?
He is. A lot of your favorites, yeah. But I think if you don't walk out of that movie with it being one of your new fan favorites, I'll be heavily surprised. Solely because Wright took the soundtrack along with the score and perfectly interwove it into the story. Okay. So every song serves a purpose that drives the emotion. So it's like I showed you the opening song a long time ago. And first off,
I think I remember you showing me that. Yeah,
the first 5 minutes of that movie are the greatest 5 minutes of any opening. Yeah, literally, the way the movie kicks off is awesome. It gets you right in. You know everything that's happening. You know what to feel and what to expect. But I don't want to spoil too much. Yeah, but I'm not. But it's just okay. So with Baby Driver, it's like every song is affecting the world around the actual characters. So it's like. There's one opening scene where he's walking to get coffee, and you'll have to look for it when you watch it tonight. But as the song's going, there are sounds playing with, like, in time with the song. Like if people are like working on a construction set, and there's actually one part where the lyrics say like "Hey, hey, hey," and "Hey, hey, hey" are spray painted into the ground next to him. And by the speed he's walking, and they must have had like a metronome or something on set because it times up perfectly with the song. Awesome. So like real world stuff is affecting, or the song I should say, is affecting the real world.
Because he's got headphones in all the time, right?
Yeah.
That stuff, because that kind of stuff is like, because when you say that, I thought immediately of music videos.
Mm-hmm.
They did
that's what I was thinking too.
Thing.
And Edgar Wright, that's how he got his start. He made a bunch of music videos.
Yeah, it's super. It's like I think some people take it for granted. Like cutting in time, like on different things.
It's brilliant. Like, that's how I edit. I only edit to music and stuff.
Yeah, like it's what you have to do to make a cohesive and more I don't know, I guess appealing video. You know,
well, I think
video or film.
So to talk about Neverwas one final time. So since we're talking about music and that, like Makai and I were working hand in hand together on this, and Luke Shingleton's our editor. And we're all in the same kind of mindset where it's like the music should fully be a part of the scene. And Makai came up with some little ditties that we listened to, and we're like, we like where this is going. It's going to probably change when we actually have picture to show you. And we just kind of locked off our picture, which means we're saying like, hey, this is the movie. We're not going to edit it that much anymore. We probably still will, depending on what his score is. So from now on, it's literally color grading, animation, VFX, sound, and music. And then once that's all done, we're done. But like, it's so interesting because I talk to Makai, and I'm always like, anytime I go into any sort of partnership, like if we ever work together, I would say, how do you like working together? What do you prefer? Anytime I go into any partnership, I'm always like, how can I best serve you to make this partnership as, efficient and just, groundbreaking as possible. So it's like, if you say you prefer working a certain way, that's how we're going to do it. I am fully flexible around the people I work with. So with Makai, I sat down with him and I was like, how do you like working together? And he listed all this stuff. And one of the big things was some people work very different. He said he loves seeing the picture. And he read the script and he loved the script and all this stuff. But he said, I like seeing the picture because I like to see what's happening on screen without hearing anything and playing it out in my head. Like, okay, is this going to be a hit right here? Something like that. And that was a great starting point. But the thing working with collaboration and these hits and stuff and building emotion is like, there's moments where we're all three sitting together, maybe 4 or 5 eventually, a whole team. And we'll stop and we'll say, right here. That's where something big has to happen, or small, or it's like like literally not even a second, like a half second forward or behind this precise moment right here, right there. It's like it only makes sense right here, and that's what I love about working with sound and music, because it's like I love sound. I love sound design. It's one of my favorite parts of music, or of just it's anything.
Really cool. Yeah.
But like, because another thing too is. We have these massive kind of fantasy creatures in our movie, and I had to figure out like, okay, how am I going to make a fantasy noise, right? So there you go. I'll just use that. But no, I think I ended up using like a whale noise, an elephant growl, two wolves howling on top of each other. All of that, a lot of reverb, modified, so it sounds very ethereal and kind of like ghostly, but also beautiful. And I mean, come on, that's cool, right?
Yeah,
to be able to take like all this stuff and put it together, and it's a brand new noise, right?
Yeah.
Like your guys' world is just so cool to where like
You're pretty cool.
Yeah, and you're pretty cool, but you take elements, right? Like you guys are tinkerers. You take these screws and nails and you put them together and you make machines. And these machines can produce more stuff from that point on.
Yeah.
Right? It's a forever, never ending cycle of just, creation, scavenging, creation. And it just, you have to live off innovation.
100%. I sometimes think of it like, at least mixing is like cooking.
Yeah.
Where it's like
Getting your ingredients
salt
together.
alone isn't amazing. Dumping salt in your mouth doesn't taste great.
Wow. Hey.
Yeah, some people.
But
I don't agree with you there.
however many tablespoons of salt in that sauce at that particular time, and then later in that meat, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the individual elements that collab to be a total
And
thing.
you have to know how much you can use it. Because if
Yeah.
you do too much salt, it's going to ruin everything.
100%.
For
For
me, you
me,
have the people that put ranch and everything, and it's like, well,
Okay,
I can only imagine.
listen
what your
to
music
me.
tastes
Is that
like.
auto-tune for
I
you
love-
guys? What is that?
listen to me. I love my family. My younger brother loves ranch, and I love ranch too. So you need to
Yeah,
take a
shut up.
I will
Awesome.
not. I will not. I think I'm not gonna get in that.
I am to answer what you were saying though. For me,
Yeah.
if you were to come to me and be like, "What do you need to know to be
Yeah.
the most successful?" Obviously, I would want to see the picture, but I need to know what emotion the viewer needs to be feeling at that moment. Because at least whenever I'm scoring or writing music, I'm not thinking about what chords I'm playing and that. Sometimes I am when I'm writing normal music for myself, but when specifically for scoring, I'm thinking what chords will make you feel what way and how do I get there in the most organic way to make that happen.
Yes.
That's what I think Hans Zimmer's so good about is it's like he doesn't even change much in his chords.
No.
But it's
It's
what
like
he's
the
changing
stagnant-
when.
Yeah.
And like the
Oh,
pedal
yeah.
notes, the notes that
it's-
just hold the whole time and
Yeah.
everything moving around it. That's one of my favorite things.
Because
is
you
the
are
pedal
fully
tones.
responsible for making the audience cry.
100%.
You are. Like anyone who does scoring or sound design or whatever,
Yeah.
it is so purposeful that like the audience, if it was just a silent movie, like they'll laugh at certain things. Or okay, if we're talking about silent movies, even silent movies from the 1920s that had no dialogue, they had live bands in the theater playing music to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it matters that much.
Yeah.
It matters that much.
Even when sound and music could not go together, they were like, no, this is impossible. We have to have something happening.
Like, that scene in Interstellar when Matthew McConaughey is driving away from the house and he's crying? Could you imagine if instead of that intense organ and it's just the car stereo playing like Travis Tritt or something, and it's just like, should it be in a cowboy?
Yeah, he's crying.
He's crying, but it sounds like he's got the radio effect on it. Everyone would start laughing.
Yeah, no,
But
it's goofy.
It's the impact and the emotion. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I recently, literally 2 days ago, found an old score piece that I wrote that I thought I deleted, but I found an old demo like mix of it. I'll show it to you just to see. It's from a few years ago, but it's kind of my idea of it was like. It's called Spacewalk, and the beginning is the idea
Did you
of
show me?
I think I showed you.
Yeah,
the other day.
yeah. I was gonna
the
say.
idea of is like the beginning, the intro is like walking up to and like bracing for the impact, and taking off and doing all that, and then the takeoff, the feeling of takeoff and the liftoff, and then the feeling of just serenity and silence in space once you break atmosphere. And then the feeling of going on a spacewalk and exiting the thing and just being in space, and like the pureness of that of it's not scary, but it's not scary.
Yeah.
And how simple and how empty it is kind of what I had in my brain when I did it. It was sweet. Yeah.
No, I think that's super. And it's like space.
That's why I think Interstellar is cool too, because everyone when they do space, they either do scary or like super fantasy, like I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
There is one example I wanted to bring up when you're talking about space. Because it's so.
Is that Moonfall movie?
No.
With the guy from
Gerald
The Conjuring or whatever?
Butler, is that what it is? Gerard Butler, but oh, I know who you're talking about. No, Patrick somewhere, who knows, whatever. But anyways, okay. So yes, normally in space it's either scary or it's like space opera, right? Like super dramatic.
The ocean is similar, by the way.
Oh, that's true. That's true. But there is one movie that I think is so cool. It still has some like atmospheric stuff for like the space station, but anytime they go out in space, it's awesome because it's dead silent.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Because that's what space is.
Yes, and so the movie is 2001: Space Odyssey. Which, hey, I made you watch that.
I didn't even notice that it was. Is it really silent?
Yeah, I wrote a whole paper about it for school one time.
Because at the beginning of that movie is crazy.
I remember.
I haven't seen it.
Oh my
like,
gosh!
I was like, hey, I have a movie for you to watch, and my favorite is I always recommend that movie for people who don't know what it is, because people are like they think it's a space movie. The first 20 minutes of that movie are about the first evolution of humans. So it's the first 20 minutes about monkeys
Genesis.
walking
Genesis,
around.
dude.
Yeah, it is, and they find this like crazy like space pillar, and it's a really good movie. But
I was not expecting that, and I was like, what? What am I watching? I just turned it off.
I thought it was hilarious. You texted me, you're like, what is this? But
what is going on?
No, but so when they get to space, right? It's 3 stories. There's the monkey story. There is another space story of like finding another pillar, and then there's a
Monkeys
third.
in space.
And
No,
Sean
not
Connery.
monkeys. Well, yes,
okay.
humans, but not monkeys in space.
Monkeys.
And there's a third one, which is the famous one everyone knows, where it's like the supercomputer HAL.
Yeah.
Right. Where it's like, I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that. Right.
Yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But so I just thought of something else. I'll talk about it in a second. Okay. Anyways, spoilers for this movie.
Spoiler,
Hal's
it came
evil.
out like 50 years ago.
No,
Spoiler
it's
alert.
1960 or something. Yeah, but Hal is evil. If you didn't know that, and he ends up killing a guy. He severs a guy's air tank or something like that. So there's this shot where this guy has to go fix a satellite on the spaceship, and he goes outside, and it's just dead silent, and it's creepy because it's like there's one guy working inside, totally oblivious to everything. This other guy's outside, dead silent, and you see Hal controlling this like space shuttle behind him, and all of it's completely silent, but you just see Hal's glowing red eye, and there might be a little bit of like his eye hum or something, but I'm pretty sure it's just dead silent. And the coolest shot is, I think this other guy's in like the kind of like air separation tank, and he's going outside to help, and as he's looking out a window, you see his friend spinning off into space. Like his cord was severed, and he's just spinning, and it's dead silent.
It's crazy.
Dead silent, and it's terrifying, and it's brilliant. It is so freaking
Holy
cool.
moly.
There's a lot of cool things you can do with silence. I
Yeah.
think silence is underrated.
Same.
In terms of scoring and music in general.
Yeah.
I think people don't allow
No, silence is
silence
brilliant.
and space enough.
Silence speaks in volume. Like there's another movie called Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, which is a fantastic movie. But I had to write a paper on that one too. And that movie has some really famous music in it, like the raindrops keep falling on my head. That song, are you serious? You never heard that
Don't
song?
know that song?
Are you serious?
Keep going, Colin.
What is wrong with you? All right,
Never
anyways,
heard it.
you've definitely
If I get
heard
copyrighted,
it.
that's
But
good.
yeah, anyways, that song, very famous song, was made for that movie. And that's like that's some of the only music in the whole movie. It's like a 2.5 hour movie, and there's a song in the opening. There's a song for that song moment, or there's also like 1 or 2 other songs. That's it.
Yeah.
Like the entire movie is dead silent. It's like you hear like them running around and they're talking, but there's no music. And it's so interesting because it's like I wrote the paper and I called it the explosive sound of silence.
Yeah,
cool.
Because just like you feel so tense. Because the whole movie is like a giant chase scene of these guys running from the law, and they're trying to escape to South America, and it's the whole time you're just like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen next? Because you don't know what to expect because there's no music.
Yeah. Man.
I'm one more thing before we go.
Yeah.
Well, 2 more things actually. I want you to say one movie that's coming out soon that you're really excited for, other than Neverwas.
Wow.
I'm gonna be before you do that. I'm gonna say the new animated Spider-Man. I actually didn't like the first one, and there's a good chance I don't like the second one also.
You didn't like the first one?
No, but Metro Boomin, the rap producer, is doing the score for that, and he is the most cinematic rap producer out of all of them ever, I think, in my opinion. And I think it's gonna be sneaky, really good, and really transitional in like where scores go in the future. I think it's gonna be one of those ones where like after this,
genre-defining.
a lot of stuff is gonna kind of go this way and think more of that mindset.
I like that.
But yeah, what do you think? New movies, and then after that, I gotta ask Massimo a question, and then
First off, I just want to say, before this podcast ends, I have never met anyone who has the most wild movie opinions, unlike yourself.
That's what I'm saying.
we'll
man.
have to do more about movies eventually.
Oh my
'cause that's what
gosh.
everyone says to me, and I'm picky.
When I first met Brendan, we went through almost every movie that I liked, and he said, "No, I hate that movie." To like literally every single movie. But you love your Goonies and you love your Animal House.
and Dazed and Confused and Interstellar.
Yeah,
That's
and
the
also
four.
the
Respect,
the
Aretha Franklin movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That movie made me cry harder than anything in my real life that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
I cried harder at that than anything.
Not the
in
Whitney
real life.
Houston
But
movie?
I just think that's so funny. And honestly,
Wow.
I know if a movie's really good. Actually, no, I take it back because you like Animal House.
It's the score. It's the score. It's the music of it
the
that
music
makes me cry.
Because I remember we saw Dune together, and we've seen a lot of movies together, but we saw Dune together, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, I was hoping the music would be more like, lots of melodies and stuff, and you were like, because I was like, I like the movie, I like the story, I just didn't like the music, and you're like, I didn't like the movie, I like the music, and it was like completely different.
The movie stunk, but the soundtrack was awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which it is a cool soundtrack because he made a bunch of
Part
instruments.
2's coming out soon.
It is.
I'm intrigued.
I did see that.
This
Yeah.
fall, I
And
think.
Florence Pugh's
or
in
summer.
it. Can't wait.
She plays a princess.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Um,
Anyway.
my movie, yes. There's a lot of movies coming out this year. If I was excited for one of them, gosh, that's really hard. I think I'm gonna have to go with Asteroid City, which is from my favorite director, who's Wes Anderson, which is a stupid film.
I saw the
kid
trailer for
cop-out.
that. Tom
I
Hanks
see
is in
all
that,
these
right?
Wes Anderson things.
Yeah.
Like
No, I hate those
on
so
Instagram
much.
and TikToks. Like, don't act like you're in one of those movies and it's just boop, 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 and like they're
I hate them so
standing.
because they're all wrong. And I have a professor named Seth Worley, which also I will say this guy's crazy. Seth Worley's crazy. He in a good way, like crazy talented.
Okay.
He has a movie coming out this year with Tony Hale, who played Forky.
cool.
In Toy Story 4 and Arrested Development, all that stuff. Great actor. Also, one of the girls from The Good Place and Barry. I forget
Yeah.
her name, but she's fantastic. It's his debut movie, like his first feature. I just saw the movie, the teaser trailer at our film festival last month. It's
Looks awesome.
It's literally one of the best movie trailers I've ever seen. And it's going to be a crazy, awesome movie. So when that movie is called Sketch, when it comes out eventually,
Sounds cool.
it's going to be amazing and everyone should go see it. But
Sweet.
he had a whole thing about Wes Anderson where he goes, I love Wes Anderson, but I hate anyone who's trying to be Wes Anderson. And I think that's so true.
I know.
Because it's like,
Makes sense.
half of my feed are those videos.
I hate him
just
so
like
much.
Going through my day as a Wes, like
Makes me sad to be a Wes Anderson.
like you
But-
have that much downtime on your hand. No.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that.
No, but Asteroid City looks fun.
Yeah.
Those movies are just very kind of like awkward, but it's used to like a comedic effect, and I think they're brilliant. And just the way he makes them, like as techniques and stuff, and also sound, like it's.
And
brilliant.
this one on the trailer seems to be very Wes Anderson.
It is,
more
yeah.
than some of the other ones.
No,
It seems to be super like artsy.
He's
you know?
only enhancing his style
Yeah.
with every movie he
I'm
makes.
excited.
So some people hate it. I think it's awesome. I think an artist should only be inclined to kind of go deeper into their style to learn.
Yeah.
Because as long as they're a big thing about just doing art in general is as long as you're innovating and you're not sticking to the same formula over and over and over again, like your work is going to stand out.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
So
Oh
I
yeah.
don't know. So I think Asteroid City. Spider-Verse looks really, really good. It's a part 1. There's a part 2 coming out next year.
Oh,
So it's gonna be a big movie. I don't know. Barbie looks good. Oppenheimer looks good.
Oppenheimer looks good.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Cool.
Well, I would say Asteroid City. That's my one. There you go.
Colin, thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, man.
Before we head out,
Thank you.
I do have to ask
There you
Massimo
go.
one quick question because we're not
I knew you
recording.
were gonna ask me something, and I forgot what you're gonna ask.
Do you remember now?
No, I'm nervous.
Before we get out of here,
Yeah.
we won't be doing another episode till after we have gone to the Dave Matthews concert.
I remember now.
And so I'm so excited. I wanted to ask him what you're expecting and how you feel about it going in.
I'm expecting a good show.
Me too.
And I'd be
I'm so
upset if
excited.
it's not, because you've talked up Dave Matthews so much.
Dude,
I don't listen
Carter
to Dave
Beauford.
Matthews.
Okay, the music.
No, he is great.
The music is. Some songs are take it or leave it because he's very artsy fartsy.
Yeah.
The way he sings is very dynamic and sings like he does some weird stuff sometimes.
Could you do that again?
He does some weird stuff sometimes, but
Wow.
and he dances his dancing is awesome. But dude, Carter as a drummer is amazing, and I think it's going to be so many amazing musicians.
I think
on stage.
I think we're gonna appreciate the musicianship a lot
Yes.
more than the music, just because I don't know the music.
Well, most of the songs end up just being like the songs are actually only 4 minutes,
Like a
but they just
jam.
do them for 10 and they just solo.
yeah.
So,
I think I saw a set list of theirs. There's like 10 songs. Like it's only
10 to 12 songs and they play
it's
for like 3
2
hours.
It's still
Yeah,
2.5
yeah,
hour
man,
show.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
It's
know
like,
much
okay,
of
man,
anything.
and they
about
do
music,
go
but
for a
don't-
long time,
Don't tell these
so.
two guys. They don't
I don't know. I'm excited.
can
We
just
got
take a
some
nap
right
and-
now.
real
It's just you and me.
nosebleeds.
Yeah.
What do you say?
I'm here with you.
We'll get out of here with that.
Hey,
Alrighty, thank you so much.
Hey, how many times do you think people are going to talk about that one time Dave Matthews bus poop fell on the people in Chicago?
What?
We don't need to talk about it, okay? He clearly doesn't know.
I'll tell you that story after the episode.
Oh man!
Oh my gosh.
Look it up. There's a video on YouTube.
I think
thank you
5
for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Colin. Do you have any socials or anything you want to promote?
Yeah,
Plug what you want, real quick.
I'm on Instagram. It's just Colin Hodgin. Colin with 1 L. That's important. Hodgin, Hodgin, not double O. Besides that, I have a YouTube channel. It's also just called Colin Hodgin. And then, Neverwas will be coming out July 28th, and we're premiering at the Franklin Theater. That might get pushed back depending on if we end up taking it to movie festivals. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you both have been fantastic hosts.
Thank you for coming on.
Beautiful boys too.
Oh, wow.
Thank you for coming on. Do you want to promote your...
follow me wherever. Mossmo D Music, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. I'm Mossmo DeStefano. You can find all my stuff on there. I drum, I engineer, I produce.
Yeah.
Hit me up. Okay, Brendan, what about you?
Yeah, and I'm on Instagram at bden_Ayton, BDEN_Ayton. Look out. I'm going to start posting some teasers of the album that I'm mixing that we worked on together. So look out for that.
I heard it. It was good.
Alrighty. Thank you very much, everybody. We're going to get out of here. All right, peace.
Is it time for the ad read? Do you want me to help with this?
There's no ad read. That we just did our
wait, shout out Liquid Death.
Shout out Liquid Death.
Liquid Death.
Come on the show.
Sponsor us.
Come on the show.
Steve Perry, we love you.
Dave Matthews, come on the show. Alrighty. Peace.
Ciao.
Thank you. Bye.